You listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
I've promised to talk about the yellow brand today, after many failed attempts at doing it in the past, so that means it's time for some NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day main event from like 3 weeks ago. Finn Balor, he successfully defended his NXT Championship against Pete Dunne.
Yeah, it was a really brutal match, as expected. But it didn't break as many hearts as what happened after the match.
I don't know what you're talking about. They started attacking Finn Balor, Pat McAfee's crew, minus Pat McAfee, and Then the Undisputed Era came out and they saved Finn Balor and they all stood together and then it cut to black. Hard cut.
Yeah, just as it did when Miz cashed in.
Yep.
Yeah. Adam Cole proved everything that Pat McAfee said about him. And turned on Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor and took them both out.
It's really been just Adam Cole taking out people kind of few weeks, you know, like he took out Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly, as you said, that week, and then I believe the very next week he beat the ever-loving poop out of Kyle O'Reilly and put him on the shelf for a little while, and he also then super kicks Roderick Strong, like his last remaining friend.
I loved the entire time that he just had this look, that Roderick Strong just had this look of confusion. Even after, in the weeks afterwards, trying to figure out what Adam Cole was doing, and hoping that they could still somehow salvage the Undisputed Era, because without Undisputed Era, Roderick Strong has no relevancy. So
yeah, it's a bit of a rough one. It's just been, I guess, everyone's just slowly been betrayed by Adam Cole, as he's just gone through and taken out every last friend that he had. And really, after we'd been predicting it for quite a while, finally crumbling what it was formerly known as the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, so it's been fun watching this play out the last couple weeks, and we know we're eventually getting Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole.
There's so many different paths to get to there, though, that I'm not entirely sure exactly where we're going to land, because this week on NXT, Finn Balor took on Roderick Strong, and obviously walked away with the win, and then Adam Cole seemingly challenged Finn Balor, and they're going to have their NXT Championship showdown next week. Is this where we see Kyle O'Reilly return and return the favor as well?
Most likely. I'll say that Adam Cole probably will get pinned cleanly, because Finn doesn't need help. But the odds are highly likely that after the match is over, that Kyle O'Reilly comes out and beats the living poop out of him.
Yeah, an eye for an eye.
But not in the Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins way.
Not a literal eye for an eye.
Yes.
We don't want the whole world to go blind. But yeah, it seems like there's a very, very full sort of main event scene at the moment around this NXT Championship, and Finn Balor and challenging him, and we seem to have a takeover, I believe, coming up just before WrestleMania, I believe, is our next takeover that they advertised. But there's some chance to have big big matches on NXT or even just themed NXTs beforehand where we might see some of the stuff worked out, but I definitely see Kyle O'Reilly going for his revenge in a big way.
Yeah, we're definitely staring down the barrel of some big matches. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, probably Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. I have a feeling that's going to happen probably at either the next event or WrestleMania itself.
Yeah, well, Karrion Kross had his little feud in between with the Cruiserweight champion Santos Escobar. They had a match last week on NXT, and Karrion Kross basically just destroyed all of the Phantasma trio, and just overcame the odds, overcame the numbers, and still walked away with the win. So he went in looking like a man who could devastate everybody, and he left a man who could devastate everybody.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before he gets back to the NXT Championship. Whether he wins it or not, I don't know. But it's just a matter of time until it happens again.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rough one with gaining it and then immediately the injury taking you off to the sidelines. So it seems as though the plans are still to use him as a big player in the NXT Championship scene. So I think, as you say, definitely heading back there at some point. Before talking about more NXT, we're going to throw in some Raw here just so we can lead into our entrance theme. This week's Raw was entirely themed start to finish with the storyline thread of just Bobby Lashley. If you had to title the episode of Raw, it would have just been Lashley.
It would have been the Bobby Lashley show. This was an amazing Raw. The best Raws have a theme throughout the entire show. We have at the beginning of the show, Miz basically weaseling his way out of defending the title at the beginning of the show. And so they set a deadline for 9 p.m. And Miz fakes food poisoning. So they put it at 10 o'clock. Miz comes out, then immediately runs away once the bell was ring. So he successfully defended his title, quotation marks. And Bobby Lashley is just getting madder and madder the entire episode. And they forced Miz to come out at the end of the show to defend the title. Or be stripped and the title would be awarded to Bobby. But this isn't going to be any ordinary match. No, it's a lumberjack match, which I correctly predicted before they announced it. This was to keep The Miz from running.
And it worked.
And, yep. And then The Miz got absolutely curb stomped. And now, 16 years after debuting in WWE the first time, Bobby Lashley is your new WWE champion.
It's solid, as you say. Both the episode, Bobby Lashley literally, and Bobby Lashley as champion. All three of those things are solid. I'm interested to see where it goes. A little like on the fact that the Money in the Bank had to be used in such a way, but I guess the title had to come off of Drew for the story to be told with Bobby Lashley. You couldn't tell this story if it was coming off of Drew. And so, things needed to happen, and they did to be able to tell the awesome story that we're getting to see now, or the not so awesome in Miz's case.
And, Miz was a perfectly fine transitional champion. There was I don't really have that big of a deal with it. Because I do think at some point he'll get the title back, just not from Lashley.
Yeah, I think they've correctly laid down the fact that Lashley's power level is way higher than the Miz's.
Yeah, and honestly, short of a few shenanigans, this was the only outcome that could have happened from this match, with Lashley winning.
Yeah.
There was no way The Miz was going to win in any way, shape, or form unless he got some outside help.
That really was his
And
only
that
shot.
outside help needed to be more than John Morrison.
Yeah, he did like maybe 3 or 4 outside helps, maybe. But yeah, it makes me hyped for what we're gonna see going forward, because on Raw we got our Sheamus Drew McIntyre match, obviously not for the title. Good match, great slobber knocker. But seems like there's potentially still some more there in the tank. So, although
yeah, but unless they're doing like a stipulation with that next match, where they go? That was a WrestleMania caliber match given to us for free on Raw.
And it's like we should have had it at WrestleMania. But yeah, I can't see, if I'm looking at, Miz, Lashley, McIntyre, Sheamus, and you can throw in a few other people in there if you want, I can't see just yet the path that they're going to take to Fastlane and then the path they're going to take to WrestleMania, just because there's a few options. They could go left, they could go right, or they could completely swerve us and pop a Yui.
I think they're going to pop a Yui. I think we're going Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar.
That's definitely a Yui.
I think we're finally getting that match. Lashley versus Lesnar.
Okay. You've thrown me a curveball here. I've taken a swing, I've missed. Strike one. Okay. My brain is still trying to calculate. Yeah. It's early in the morning when we record this. Okay. I didn't expect to hear Brock Lesnar's name thrown out this morning. Nah, it does not compute. I don't got anything. How is this playing out? How do you have this playing out in your mind?
It's Brock Lesnar. That's all you need to know. He just shows up, wants a title match with Lashley to prove dominance. Lashley accepts. We get it at WrestleMania. Lashley wins to keep the title on a full timer.
I'm glad to hear that you said Lashley retains. If this match does happen, whether the way you described or not, just if this match happens between the two at WrestleMania for the title, I really hope Lashley retains. This guy's been built up so well the past, I think it's about a year now, with the Hurt Business and with MVP. The guy deserves a good run, and not just to be knocked off the pedestal by a returning Lesnar, He should stay at the top of the mountain for a little while, or at least hanging around the top if he's not the man on the top.
Yeah, I agree completely. Lashley's earned this, which is not something we would have said a year ago.
No.
I think being paired with the MVP has completely revigorated his character and just made him the BA that he should have been the second he came back from to WWE.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it. His career has been, and I don't want to use this word, but I'm gonna use this word because, quote unquote journalist. His career has definitely been saved by MVP. In that it looked like he was floundering around in the doldrums for a little while. And then MVP picks him up and takes him to the promised land. And honestly, anything MVP has touched since returning at the Royal Rumble has just been gold. He's Midas Vontavious Porter. But it is time to go into our entrance theme of this week. And if you can't predict it after all of that chatting, really, we've given you as many hints as is completely possible for the song that's playing now. And you're back to the Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. And it's time to look back at the gold brand here with NXT. Because, man, what the Way is doing is just comedic gold. Johnny Gargano's got his feud going with Loomis, but it's all the side content that is the best thing we've got going for us right now.
Yeah, Gargano's getting an actual title reign, considering he never got one with the first two title reigns.
Yeah.
And him and Theory and Candice have just been killing it.
There's something about, and I know it was revealed at the end to be a sham, that Gargano had paid the therapist, but there's something about the Garganos being the parent to an Austin Theory who thinks he just went on vacation with Dexter Lumis, and an Indy Hartwell over in the corner crushing on Dexter Lumis, needing to go to horny jail constantly. It's just a recipe for amazing comedy, and I'm just loving everything they're doing at the moment. Even simple things like Gargano walking into therapy with the title around his waist, or as they're leaving, Austin Theory's crying, he's wailing, and Gargano just screams in happiness, "We're going to Chuck E. Cheese." Like, it's the small things.
Yeah.
And it's good
when
to see.
When Loomis finally wins the title from Gargano here, please put Gargano on the main roster. This is the absolute last thing that Gargano needs to do in NXT.
He's the final boss of NXT, though. At this point, I'm not sure if Gargano or Ciampa are ever going to go up to the main roster. Or if they're just going to live in NXT as the third brand, and just continue to be the tentpole guys down here in NXT. Who knows?
I still say put them back together as DIY and put them as a tag team on Raw or SmackDown.
But that means I lose the Way. I can't lose the Way. You can't take this away from me. Either they all go or none of them go.
Bring Candice along with him so that she can be in the women's division. And then you have the Way plus Ciampa minus Theory.
But Theory and Indy are some of the best parts. No, I refuse. It's not happening. WWE, I will call up and leave a stern voicemail. Okay? But, if we're talking about specifically either Ciampa or tag teams, Ciampa's still hanging out with Timothy Thatcher quite a bit, and they actually scored themselves a nice little non-title match against the NXT Tag Champs, which they were lined up to win, but Imperium sort of came out and gave them a little side-eye and distracted them just enough for Lorcan and Birch to walk away with the victory. It's weird. Imperium is making their presence known on NXT. It seems like it threw off Timothy Thatcher. Not so much Ciampa, but definitely Timothy Thatcher. And they were also backstage talking to Killian Dane, one half of Dane and Maverick. So, don't know what Imperium's trying to do.
Yeah, I think they want their tag titles back. But let's face it, they had their day in the sun. Right now it's Lorcan and Birch's turn. And who knows who'll get the titles from them.
Well, what if Imperium's strategy, instead of just, being the best tag team on NXT, is to break up all the tag teams on NXT? They're just slowly going to convince Killian Dane to turn away from Maverick. They're going to convince Timothy Thatcher to turn away from Ciampa. They're just going to mess with this NXT tag team division. They're going to be the man in the shadows.
Well, at that point, then they would be by default best team in NXT.
That's the big brain play. But I don't know just yet. This is the start of a story. We don't know what's there just yet. We gotta keep watching, tuning in, and seeing how it all plays out. And another one that is just the start of a storyline, the Women's Tag Team Championships. You can tell my tone got a little more angry now. Jackson Baszler comes down from Raw to NXT to defend them against Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. Referee gets knocked out at the end, and then who comes down? It's Raw's Adam Pearce, bringing a Raw referee who incorrectly called a submission on someone who was not the legal person in the match, and William Regal ain't too happy.
Well, Adam Pearce shows up on both shows, so it's not just Raw.
Look, the main roster Adam Pearce, he has no power down here.
Yeah. I do hope that this does lead to a bigger storyline. I think what happened was they announced that match for on NXT, and then immediately announced the match for Naomi and Lana, and that kind of just put them in a box where they couldn't put the titles on Dakota and Raquel.
Yeah.
So they screwed them over so they could then get another title shot, like, after they deal with Lana and Naomi.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because obviously the storyline bones there seem to be laying in this NXT getting screwed over so they can keep the titles on the main roster kind of piece, with Adam Pearce coming down and William Regal supposedly making an announcement next week related to this matter. But I don't know whether that's maybe a match at Fastlane, whether that's a match with a stipulation. If they're going to be able to drag it out to WrestleMania, I don't know. But there's options for them to go with this. But I gotta believe that Kai and Gonzalez are going to get another shot some point soon.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of it, is that we'll deal with that other announced title match.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get that out of the way. Jackson Baszler will successfully retain the title there. And then, after that, then we'll find out that they're going to give Kai and Gonzalez another shot, because they were wrongfully screwed out of theirs. And it'll happen either at Fastlane or WrestleMania. I think I'd prefer WrestleMania.
I would too. I'd love to see Dakota Kai win the Women's Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania. Love it. But if we're talking about winning titles on NXT, next week does have 2 massive championship matches. So just before we run out of time, let's throw out some predictions. We've already kind of talked about the Finn Balor Adam Cole NXT Championship, but let's just cement in stone those predictions. We're going with the Finn Balor retention here.
Yeah, I don't think we're in any universe where Adam Cole wins here.
Those are famous last words, as Adam Cole will now win next week. But then in the women's division, we have Io Shirai defending against Toni Storm as well next week.
I think it's Toni time.
Finally Toni time?
Yeah, I think it's Toni time.
Okay. I think Io Shirai has had a really good run. Really long, really solid, great matches throughout. It'll be interesting to see if Toni is going to be the one to bring an end to that reign, given this NXT Women's division is just so strong. And it's not quite a title match, but it might as well be. Basically, last week, Xia Li absolutely destroys Catanzaro, and next week, Caden Carter is calling her out for some revenge. So the prediction here, how many seconds is Caden Carter going to last against Xia Li? Are we looking 3 seconds, or are we looking at, like, maybe 60?
We'll give her 2 minutes.
Okay.
It'll be 2 minutes of nothing but Xia Li beating the poop out of her, but yeah, we'll give her 2 minutes.
Okay. A whole grand 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give her 30 seconds. Most of the beating I think will take place after the match. And red flowers or blue flowers for her funeral afterwards?
Pink.
Sounds like a plan. Either way, we've run out of time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Baby.
And I finally talked about that NXT main event scene as I promised, and we covered the rest of NXT as well. So you can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRadio, Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRadio, and we'll catch you next week.